This video is intended to give an overview of the Canmore Rec Center. This might raise more questions than answer, but I just want to do a walk through the entire building and just show where some of the mechanical penetrations are and structural supports and other things like that. So if you look up, you'll see those solar panels. I'll point out which system those run to later on. The building was built in 3 different phases. So this section down here is the original hockey rink. The comm hall upstairs where those solar panels are sitting were included with that. Everything you can see here with the green roof running down this way is all part of the addition that was done when the pool was added. Initially it was, I believe, built to be around the time of the Olympics. So you can see there's a dropped roof right here. I'll point that out on the inside, and then I'll also point out a couple things about the other roof lines from the inside, and also when I walk around on the roof as well. So this front entrance area was added as part of this addition, and you can see as you come through the front entranceway, everything that is pretty much from this line here over this way is all part of the pool addition. Everything that we're looking at down this way is all part of the original build, and that I believe comes over as far as the back of the concession. So this wall here. So I think that the storage area over is new. Yeah, like this wall here, where you can see this brick. That would have originally been the exterior wall for the new, or for the first phase, the original building. Everything where I'm standing over this way and from this line over, including that storage space back there, that is all done during the pool addition. Maybe I'll start with this part of the building. So these walls here are just after the fact stud walls. This area is heated in a couple of different ways. You can see here in these offices, there's this perimeter heating that runs through all of these offices, down this wall, through each of these, and then runs along here. It carries on, it runs all through all the gymnastics area. It's broken up into a couple different zones, controlled by a pneumatic system. So there's a control for this area in here, there's another control for this area in here. And then this space is also heated through a forced air system that is direct fire. So runs 24 hours a day, both pulling in fresh air, heating it as needed, and exhausting it to the outside air. The exhaust for it is right about there. And this duct, I'll show you where that runs on the inside of the mechanical room. You can see the this little bump in the ceiling here, and that's because this section here has got a slightly lowered roof than the upper part. On this wall, where you see that bump in the ceiling, from about roughly just past this beam all the way down on the exterior wall is that wall is open to the outside air. From about maybe where that trampoline is, on the other side of the wall, there's an area back there that used to be the pool mechanical room. So along here we've got Gymnastics Office, Used to be the old pool office. This used to be the old steam room in here. You can see it's still tiled as such. These areas go into the women's and men's change rooms. They have in each of them little reheat coils up in the roof that get a little heat off of the system, which I'll show you upstairs later on. Same thing in the men's. This room here, once upon a time, used to be a sauna. There was a steam room and a sauna. This room here used to be the lifeguard's room. There's a penetration in that wall because there used to be a dryer there. You can see the ducting overhead, and this is tying into stuff I'll show you later in the other rooms. Coming in here, this used to be the pool boiler room. So these two big super hots here are what used to heat the pool water, and they also heated the water for the loop that runs out along the perimeters and heats the exterior perimeter walls of this space and down those offices and stairwell, as well as that front entranceway. The super hots gas line comes in right here. You can see this large line that's feeding them. It's also running upstairs to feed a bunch of other equipment upstairs. On the other side of this wall right here, in the little corridor between the pool and the second arena, there is a gas meter. That's one of the two locations that we currently get our natural gas fed from. If you look up here, this is sort of hard to see, but because there's so much equipment, that duct up there that you're seeing up above is the same duct that is running out here, this green one out here. Well, in here it's wrapped, and it is actually up on the second floor. So you see that little red platform, there's a catwalk up there, and it runs across here, and you can't see it very well from down here, but up above us there is, there we go, a little better. You can see this catwalk with these steel beams, and that is supporting the exhaust fan, which right now you're looking at the bottom of that exhaust fan. Here you're seeing the exhaust stacks off of the, shut this off for a second. Just gonna shut that off so you can hear me. You're seeing the exhaust stacks that are coming off the boilers, and you'll be able to see those from up above. Above me here, there's an exhaust fan. This is exhausting air from the pool change rooms. You see another exhaust fan here, also exhausting from the pool change rooms, and you know, valves for the heating loops. My understanding is absolutely everything in here is getting gutted, which means what's going to be left is, after all the equipment's removed, this penetration above me, this is new because we put in a filter bank to deal with the chalk, but this up above me, which is accessible from the second floor, is where the exhaust air is being taken out of this space. And so if you look all around the perimeter, you'll see the area where the air is getting pulled in, and that's the exhaust fan that's taking it and dumping the air outside. Over here, we've got a couple of domestic hot water tanks and a solar preheat tank. This solar preheat tank, this is the one that's running to those ones that I showed you when we were first walking into the building. It's a very, very long run because it goes up here into this second floor mechanical room up above us, and it runs all the way along there, and then it goes up into the ceiling, crosses over into the community hall, and from the community hall it goes over into the stairwell from outside to the second stairway, and then out onto the roof up there. This back here used to be the pool filter room. So this is where the filters were, this is where the pumps were, this is where the chlorine was kept in this little room back here. You can see the wall was knocked out. That used to be a separate little room for the chlorine storage. So under here is access to the all the underworkings of the pool's piping system. Same here, you can see the steel cover that's currently covered in bikes. That is where the pool water was fed through. So we've got a door to outside here, another one here. And I'm just going to walk out back here so that you can get a frame of reference for where we are. So out here, this is that back wall that I was talking about earlier. This over here, this is the curling rink. So this back wall is kind of where I was saying on the inside, where that beam is the roughly the break point for where this dropped roof is here. So you can see the difference in the roof lines here. So this lower roof that we're looking at, that roof is just over the little room that's full of bikes. That raised roof up here, that roof line is above the mechanical room upstairs. So if you look at this big penetration coming out here, that is the exhaust fans for the big exhaust unit that pulls the air to that pool space. And as I walk down, so this little corridor area between the two buildings is where the meter is that I was pointing at inside. So right here we've got that natural gas meter that's running in, and then up here you can see this this fresh air intake. So that's where the unit that is feeding that area is getting its air from. You see these two black pipes running down the exterior. There's two insulated lines, two uninsulated lines. So this is running over to these air conditioning units. And so these air conditioning units that are over here, neither one of them works anymore. One of them was still working up until last year, but these two units are both to feed the peaks space. So that's the upstairs space. If we're looking at it from out here, it is the space between the comm hall and up on the second floor above the pool lobby area, which we walked through earlier, now kind of the gymnastics area lobby. And we'll be up in that space shortly. I just wanted to show you from out here roughly what the reference point was. And so those two air conditioning units no longer work, and they only fed peaks. This space here that I'm currently beside, so this space here currently has no air conditioning. It's only heated. It does get quite warm during the hottest days of summer. It might not need a whole lot of air conditioning because it's really only on the hot days that it gets really hot. Otherwise it's not terrible. I'm just going to walk us through the men's change room so that you can get a bit of a reference. So this wall here in this this little room that used to be the lifeguard's room, this runs down. This is outside this wall is the corridor that we were just looking at from from out there. And that wall just backs onto the change room that we're about to walk through. Similarly, the pool office and the little steam room just back onto the women's change room. So coming through the men's change room here. So right now, since the air handling unit that normally feeds this space is been decommissioned, this is mostly just passively getting its air through that little door that we just walked through. It's kind of a jail style door. There's a reheat coil up on the roof here, and the unit that this airspace normally is fed from is currently been decommissioned due to the exhaust gases getting through. So here we've got just a small little janitor's closet. Here we have the women's change room that I was just referring to on the other side. And oh, I thought the lights were on in here, but you can see where it backs onto those other rooms. This space, same thing, reheat coil up there, no longer working, just passively getting its air from the forced air in the gym. In here, we have the concession space. So this room here is the, oh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm just doing a video for the architects and engineers that are doing the renovation. So this ductwork here, I'll be up above and show you the other side of that, but this is the unit that's currently been decommissioned that normally feeds all of this end of the building, this lobby space, these change rooms, and everything else. This wall, I believe, is the wall that used to be the dividing line between the old building and the pool addition. So this, I believe, used to be an exterior wall at one point in time. If you look up here, down at the end, you can see where this, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it with this video, but anyways, right here is where it comes from the second floor down to this floor. And I'll show you further down where this ductwork splits out and covers that area. In here we have the concession. The exhaust for the concession runs up from here along this wall, and I'll show you where the exhaust comes out on the roof. It also runs up through the lobby area, and through there it's kind of sticks out a little bit in the lobby. So everything in this area, these change rooms and everything, are currently getting their hot water from those two domestic hot water tanks that we looked at in the pool. They're probably far more than what we'll need in the future, because in the future there isn't going to be any change rooms with showers. There's just going to be washrooms, and I believe that's going to be fed from a central system. So my flashlight and video might not adequately show what's up in the ceiling, but you can see where the ductwork runs down that hallway from the other ductwork I was just showing, and it comes along and it branches off in various locations. So none of this ductwork is actively really having air moving through it, because like I said, that unit is currently been decommissioned. I'm not sure how much else you can see. It's kind of an awkward place. But now I'll take you upstairs and I'll show you where all of those units are on the other side. This is a exterior entrance. This is just to the left of where I walked into the building initially. This little room here is just a little tacked on storage room. It's just really basic. This here, this unit is fed from that hot water loop that is running through the building. So it's providing the heat for this space. It's controlled from that thermostat right there. And similarly, this space up here above the entranceway, there's a feed from the boiler system from the old pool that heats that space. This stairwell accesses the Peaks room, which is where the gymnastics used to be located when that was still a pool. And it currently has some dry land equipment. This is going to be what becomes the community hall. So this space used to be air conditioned, but it's no longer working air conditioning. That's why there's these big fans to help cool it off. We've been opening the dampers overnight to bring in cold air and then closing them during the day to keep the cold air in here. So where you see this running through here, I'm going to show you where that is on the other side of this wall. So if you look down here, this used to be, where's the light? This used to be exterior wall previously. So everything you can see over here is addition, and that corresponds with downstairs. So if you think of, so on the other side of this block wall is the elevator. So if you look downstairs where the elevator is, you can see where the exterior wall used to be. So everything over on this side is all part of that part with the green roof on it. Okay, coming back over here. So down this wall, so this wall was once an exterior wall from the original building, and all of this from here over is all addition. This is entering into the mechanical room. So this wall here is the wall that I was referring to. You can see the exterior wall from the original building. Up here in this corner, we've got that penetration there going through that previous exterior wall is for the solar system that's up on the roof. The reason I'm pointing it out is because on the opposite side of this, so like right here is about where the concession exhaust runs through. So that comes out just beside it. So if that concession exhaust needs to get moved, it's going to have to come and be relocated to right about here and penetrate through the roof that way if you want to make some space in the hallway. So this unit here is an indirect. That's why we've shut it down, because the exhaust gases were getting through. This is where it runs through into that storage room that's behind the bar. So you can probably see, well, you can't really see, but that's where it kind of turns the corner and it runs down below us. So this here, what we're looking at is just the other side of these openings running down this wall. So that's all of our return air for these units. So this here, this is the air intake that I was pointing to outside. So that far end of that corridor between the two buildings, there is the opening where I said these units are getting their fresh air from. So coming back to these units, so this one AHU4, So it's bringing its fresh air in here from outside. This is where we are manually bringing cold air in from. So this unit, AHU4, and this one beside it, AHU3. You can see where it says 15 tons and 10 tons. That's what those two air conditioning units provided when they used to work. And so we have the air conditioning lines that were coming in here, and then the heating is supplied through this glycol water heat exchanger that is hooked up to that those two big super hot boilers downstairs. This right in front of me is the air that's getting fed from this direct fired unit, and that direct fired unit is going out into the gymnasium space, what used to be the pool space. So right in front of me, this here is the line that separates. This side is upstairs in the Peaks room, that space I just walked through, and from here over is the upper part of the gymnastics area, that upper space. So this is the one that on the other side of that wall it's painted green. This one is the round one on the other side. You can see here where it switches from square to round, and then on the other side of the wall it's the round one running out there. If we crawl underneath here, this is coming over to that catwalk that I referred to earlier. This catwalk that I'm standing on now is the one that I pointed out to you from below. You can see the door open down there where I was showing you the boilers down there, and the two domestic hot water tanks, the solar preheat tank. You can see its lines running up here. Like I said, it's a very long run because they go all the way over there and all over the place. If we look at right in front of me here, so the structure that this catwalk is currently sitting on is also supporting this unit here. I don't believe that it needs to support anything other than this unit and the catwalk, because the beams here are what's supporting the main structure. So this catwalk area can be easily reused or reconfigured to suit whatever replacement air handling units come in here. It could either be completely taken out and open this whole space up completely, the lower level right up to this upper level, second floor. And in my opinion, when that is done, there should be some kind of ladder, an access ladder going from the lower mechanical room to the upper mechanical room. Right now that's not the case, and it would simplify things greatly. Back here, if I shine my light, so you can see the that wall there, that's where the higher level ends. So when I pointed out outside where that roof drops down, other side of that wall is the slightly drop down roof. You can actually see the Z-girts down there from the other roof, and that roof is the one that's over that bike area, that bike workshop spot. If you look through here, move these filters out of the way. So that's coming off of those super hot boilers down there, and you can see where the gas lines are running up from below, and those gas lines are coming over and feeding this equipment here. What else to show you here? Just come over this way, try and get a bit better look of where this wall comes up and what this looks like back behind these units. So you can see that the headroom clearance is quite different throughout here. I measured the other day, and from from about roughly that light, which is about a midway point in the slope of this roof, down to that floor is about 20 feet. And then it's about 20 feet from here to there. And then I think it was something like 17 from this wall to that one, to give you some rough dimensions of what there is for space there. And then here, you know, the light represents about the midway point between the two walls. And where the light is, there's approximately 8 feet of headroom going up towards where these other lights are. And then going down that way, you drop off to probably about, oh, I don't know, 4.5 feet or something like that at the lowest point. I think that's probably about it for in here. So now I'm going to go, we're on the second floor, and I'm going from this peaks area here. So other side of that wall is the high open area space in the gymnasium. And now I'm going to walk through here. So again, elevator there. This is part of the original building. So this wall here would have been an exterior wall as well, I believe. This space here, this coat check area, just off the elevator. Here we have the elevator, and this is the stairwell that comes in from outside. Nice big stairwell. Personally, I think it'd be great to have a few big windows and let some light in here, because it's a lot of people don't think that it's used very often, but it is used quite frequently when there's big tournaments and events and weddings and stuff like that. It's kind of the main access to the comm hall for those large events. So next I'll show the lobby area from the original arena. So this lobby area, back at the start of the video, this is where I walked in, the front entranceway. Like I was saying before, this wall here would have been an exterior wall before the pool gymnasium section of the building was all added. And so I'm just going to grab this ladder and bring it over here. When this wall used to be an exterior wall, the front entranceway would have been right here, kind of where this Home of the Canmore Eagles sign is. This would have been basically the front entrance of the building, right along here. So this sort of back part of the office would have been there, but this front part would not have been. And that explains why we've got stuff like this where, you know, you've got this floor vent here, but then in here, this part isn't fed by anything like that because it didn't used to be part of that part of the building. But then over in this little office area here, you can't see it because there's bags in the way, but there's floor venting there, and over here as well. So that helps explain why the HVAC for this building is kind of split up the way that it is. You've got this being fed from that system over in the gymnasium side, whereas you've got this being fed with the floor vents that are running along here, and the overhead that's all linked in to the system on this side of the building. In here is the electrical room. So this transformer is fed from the other big transformer main distribution in the back. This is doing our lighting systems. So you can see here 347 600 volt for panel F, panel E's a 120 208 volt, and on this wall over here This is where all of our old phone lines and a lot of our networking stuff is being run from. That's the new fiber optic stuff that Telus is just putting in. And this stuff is kind of where half of it is, and the other half is down the hallway. If you look up here, you can see a lot of large conduits where all this stuff is run through. And so you see a little bit of it running over to the other new part of the building. Most of it, however, is being run over into the down the hallway and into the electrical room at the back. So up here, I'm just going to show you a little bit of what I can up in the drop ceiling. So here you can see the ductwork that's running through the drop ceiling throughout the lobby, and it's kind of hard to see. You can see where they have this one coming over, connecting in with the stuff in the office there, and then where it's been patched in over into that new office space on the other side of the wall. You can see these beams here from where the original exterior wall would have been. I don't know what else can you see up here. It looks like that those walls around the electrical room and concession are not load bearing, because I can see gaps all over the place with no supports to the concrete above my head. It's hard to see, but there's main beam here covered in insulation that runs down to that pillar, and then the other pillar that TV is on are where the support beams are, and those match up with the support beams that are up above in the comm hall. There's another beam pillar just the same size as this up there, and then another one the same size as that, and I'll show you where those are upstairs in here. So this area here used to be a gymnasium, a gym, like with fitness equipment. It's currently been emptied out. It's just a steel studded wall, a couple windows to outside. In here is our our mechanical room for the elevator. So this runs the elevator. It's actually a fair size room. It's got nice high ceilings. This is the space under the stairs, and it's actually really quite a large space that could be much better used if possible. So lots of space for the new elevator. Outside of this room, everything in this room in terms of heating and ventilation's similar to the rest of the lobby. You can see the floor vents over there that are being fed from below, and then up top. And out here, so this is concession. We were inside the concession earlier. The ranges and everything are just on the other side of that wall. Those doors all have to be up when the ventilation's running for the exhaust fan to work properly. Over here, again, load-bearing wall. We've got fireplace that was probably added on about 5 or so years ago. So this wall here corresponds with right above us in the Lady Mac Hall. So right from about this wall over to this one with the TV, that area is where the bar sits, and the kitchen sits over above the area right here. Over on this wall upstairs, it would be like right about where the window is, would be right kind of there on this wall. And again, same thing here. You've got those vents running through the floor all around the perimeter. Over here, so in this is one of the main support beams. If you look up here, you can see Through here, there's it says it's a 20 by 20 duct that's running down through here. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like in terms of where it's running, but if I had to guess, I would wager that it's going to those floor vents, because it appears to just run down through there. This little room here is just a small little storage room off of the underneath the stands. So you can see this one is insulated, currently used by the Eagles, the junior hockey team. Through these doors we have the new arena. So previously, let me think, this here I believe would have been an exterior wall right here, and I think that there would have been an exit here. You can see where walls have been taken out here, and where this access upstairs is. So this wall here corresponds directly with the wall above that you'll see when we go up the stairs. So the kitchen sits in this area. So from here over and then over this way as well is where the kitchen is up above me. Over here, so we've got women's washroom, men's washroom. Those back onto each other, and they back onto the new ice surface, which would have previously been an exterior wall. I don't think we really need to go all through the washrooms, but it's so that's an exterior wall, that's dressing room wall. These ones are all fed. I believe the washrooms are fed from the same system as the lobby. In this room here we have an uninsulated room. You can really feel the difference between it and the insulated room. Good sized room, currently being used just for storing painting supplies, safety supplies, plumbing supplies, things like that. Coming down into the hallway where the dressing rooms are, you've got a smaller storage room. We're working on cleaning it out. Mostly it's right now electrical supplies and some miscellaneous door hardware and things. You can see there's some electrical in this room, so it can't really be used for the public. A couple of panels here. These mostly feed all the various things throughout the arena, dressing rooms and such. A couple transformers that are coming off the main distribution. And now coming down, next room under the stands. This room here, also uninsulated, currently being used as a flex storage room whenever there's hockey teams here from out of town needing to store gear when there's major events going on. This room used to be storing all of our tools, and there was a workbench here and all of our various nuts and bolts and our table saw and all of that kind of stuff. All of our tools that we use for the building used to be in there. They're now split up between the Oly room and the solar room. On the right, we've got the main hallway doors that access Alex Kalita rink. And then we've got these two dressing rooms, A and B, that are so there you would have, I would assume, support beams. We've got exhaust, we've got floor vents throughout these rooms. You look overhead, you can see more vents. You see here all these conduit lines. Those are all running from that electrical room that we were just in down the end of the hallway. 4 showers. Showers are connected, washrooms are connected with the adjacent rooms, motion sensor. Yeah, so all of the address rooms are all heated, ventilated the same way. Coming down this hallway, this room on my right is used by the figure skaters currently. Insulated room. It's probably got a little bit more electrical plugins, but still not much than some of the other rooms. And no plumbing in any of these rooms under the hallway, except for the one that is used as our op room and chemical storage room. This here, refs room. This is kind of like a little flex change room. And then this room, a little washroom off the refs room and the flex change room. This is the refs room. And that leads out to the new arena. So this room here, this room is adjacent to the figure skating room that we were just in with the couch. It is currently being used as minor hockey storage. So you can see all these steel cages are mostly housing jerseys and various equipment like extra goalie pads and stuff like that. All their pylons and water bottles and such are in there. This room here is another room under the stairs. This one's insulated. We built a little pony wall type of thing to keep our storage of some equipment. This room has some plumbing for the washer dryer that are really just actually fished through the other wall. There's no actual drains or anything in here. It's just all punched through the wall right there. These two change rooms, basically same as before. You can see conduit, venting is all the same as the other rooms. The washroom's the same as the other rooms where the washroom's joined. This is where the conduit that's running down here, it crosses over the hallway through this drop ceiling. And so this drop ceiling is pretty full. There's currently ductwork running through the ceiling along with a number of other electrical and communication lines and such. This little room here is where the floor machines and the mop sink are. This plumbing just connects the washer and dryer that's over across the other room. This room here is our main electrical room. So this is where our distribution comes over from the transformer. Main shutoff switch. We've got a power logger hooked up. I'm curious. 80 amps right now. Yeah, so a couple of these have been switched out over the years. That's been changed out as well. We still have some of the old spares kicking around. Show panel hookup back in here. Another transformer for the show panel. All of this Telus gear over here is all new. That is for the new building's Wi-Fi. This panel B feeds various stuff throughout the arena and the upstairs rooms. This panel D is a 347-600. This feeds lights and things like the dehumidifier. And then that's perimeter lighting relays. Show panel meter, if we want to meter separately what the trade shows are using, and then our main meter for this transformer. I'll show you where the transformer is outside, and I'll also show you where our separate transformer is for the plant room later on. Down here we've got our staff office, so this is just beside dressing room D. in behind their staff office. All the plumbing in here was kind of an afterthought. You can see where it's been cut through the floor for the drain trench. That's my bike. These 3 furnaces, they feed everything in this kind of end of the building. So the dressing rooms, the like that figure skating room, and the storage rooms and everything that are down in this end of the building. Here we've got domestic hot water heater. This feeds the hot water down in this end of the building. So it's feeding all of the dressing rooms, the washrooms that are in the lobby, everything like that. We've got a little storage tank here for the solar preheat. This set of panels is running up. You can see where it's going up through this ductwork to the panels that are up on the roof. I'll show you where those are up by the HVAC unit up there. A little water softener here. And then so in terms of where we are in the building right now, this wall here used to be an external wall at one point in time, I believe, because this corner is sort of where the building ends. This used to also be an external wall, and it is now where we connect into the new arena that was added on over in here. So you can see where this was cut out. So right here, this is a trench that the brine lines run through. So these contain the brine lines that go from the plant room, which is over this direction to my left right now, and then over there, these brine lines run through here and over into the old arena. This little space here, this is where it's running up. So that beam up there that we're currently looking at is part of the new roof on the new arena addition, and you'll see when I'm up on the roof where these stacks are coming out up there. Back here we've just got like a small little panel. You can see the brickwork of the previously exterior wall from the old arena, and this plumbing, there's just like stuff running over to the Eagles dressing room, and then on the other side of that piece of plywood there is a water fountain out there, and you'll see that when I walk around the corner. This spot where the brine trench is, that does not need to be kept accessible for frequent access by any means, because we very seldomly access that area. This is Ryan.
Good day, boss.
Through here we have the old arena. So this doorway right here beside this stairwell, this used to be an exterior wall. So where the black mats is, that's new building. These mats are old building. Coming through here into this arena. Out here we've got dehumidifier. It's running up to here, and so it's set up to feed both arenas right now. So damper's closed. It's currently feeding this rink. That's our return. This is our supply, and you can see where it's split off to do both arenas just based on the control of the dampers. When I go over to the new arena, I'll show you where those ducts run out into the new arena. You can see these plumbing lines running along here. These are all running from this boiler room over on my left. This boiler room houses our floodwater boiler and storage tank. So that's just the water that we're using to put hot water on the ice for our ice making. Out in this arena, you can see what we currently have for seats. Some of them were recently refurbished, most of them have not been, but could be for about $20,000 or so. Seats we can still fairly easily repair with you know, bit of handiwork and some welding, but they are holding up really well. Pretty good quality seats, and the fabric is actually surprisingly in good shape. The arena boards were put in roughly, I want to say, about 12 years ago or so. In okay shape. They weren't done exceptionally well, but we're making them work. Up here in the stands for heat, we've got this radiant heating. You can see overhead. When I go up on the roof, you will be able to see where the penetrations are from that, and you'll also see where the exhaust fans are for this arena. So this wall up here wasn't initially here, so that's not a supporting wall. It was open up where that door is. You'll see when we're in the hallway upstairs how this area used to be open to the stands. That concourse upstairs, and yeah. So this area is all part of the old arena. That brine trench that I pointed out just recently in that little mechanical room back there that we walked sort of through, and you can see where it would line up with this. Yeah, so brine lines running through for our ice. This line here, this is where the headers actually start. So everything from this line over this way is just the main distribution pipes. Everything from this line over is where the actual headers come off to feed the ice. This here is our trench that we drive over with the Zamboni. You can see the headers quite well here. This door needs to be completely redone. So this door is not the original, but it's, I don't know, I believe in the ballpark of 20 to 30 years old. And it's caused us quite a few problems over the years. I've had to do a lot of work sort of rebuilding this threshold area where these grates sit because of the machine running across them and freeze thaw and all kinds of stuff like this. But it's in pretty decent shape given all the work and patching that we've done. But yeah, this overhead door, it definitely needs to be retrofitted to mesh with these boards properly. So you can't see it great from this angle, but right now this doesn't sit flush with that, and it's the same on the other side, and it's also the same going to and from the arena board. So if you think of it like this, one is sort of sitting like that, and it's not a great situation because guys will catch their hockey equipment and their sticks and stuff on it. It's something that should have been probably redone when these boards were replaced, but apparently it wasn't part of the contract, so it got left, and it's been a headache ever since. In here we have our Zamboni Room. This trench and this trench are connected up to each other. There's just a little sump pump in there that will pump any water in this area from when the guys shoveled the ice and everything off the rink in from there into here. And then there's another little trench here, but it doesn't have any kind of proper setup for heating to melt the floodwater. You can see there's not a lot of space between that trench and the end of the wall, and that's why I understand the wall here is getting blown out and brought out to be about level with the end of the garage here, in order to make enough space to put in a pit, and that pit is supposed to be heated with the waste heat off of the new refrigeration plant. In here we have natural gas feed. So this natural gas feed is coming from just on the other side of that wall there, and feeding everything kind of down this end of the building, running up, feeding HVAC units on the roof. This is just a little room adjacent to the flood room. Over here we have our solar and boiler room. So you've got those 3 storage tanks on the left. Those tanks are preheated using this loop that's going up to these solar panels that are on the roof, which you'll see later. And here we've got a a boiler that is doing our flood water. So the water comes in, it's run through the solar tanks, so it can be preheated, brought into through the boiler, and the storage tanks to be brought up to temperature. And just yesterday I had the boiler serviced with the plumber, and it's not in very good shape. The boiler is a little over 10 years old right now, and it's definitely been worked pretty hard. Really the hardest thing on that boiler is times when the guys forget to shut off the water when they're filling the machines, and then all the hot water gets drained from the system, and that boiler is getting cold water run through it continuously. It's really hard on the boiler. Here we've got the water softener tanks. So the water's brought through here, it's softened before it goes over through the solar preheat. I think it would probably be ideal to combine the domestic hot water into this system so that the domestic hot water and the flood water are all in one place, and the preheat that is being used for the excess heat off the plant room that's being used to heat the domestic hot water needs to be run over here, because it's going to be coming over to this bay where that trench is going to be, or the pit is going to be for dumping the snow. And to me, it would just make sense that if we're bringing the heat over here to melt the snow, we could also be putting it through the same system here to preheat the water that's also being preheated by the solar panels. So basically you could have 2 different preheat sources, and then after that it would go to the floodwater tanks and the domestic hot water tanks to be brought up to temperature. This wall here, you can see, is in pretty rough shape. You can actually see sunlight through it right there, and in numerous other spots, like this whole seam up this wall, you can see sunlight through there. And that's because the other side of that wall is an exterior wall. This space over here houses the dehumidifier. You can see all these penetrations through the building. Those were because the old refrigeration plant used to be in this space. You can see where the exhaust fan comes out, and in this other room where the dehumidifier is currently housed, that used to be where the cooling tower was. So all these holes that you can see in the wall that were filled in here is where the pipes used to run from the old plant room in this room over to this room here where the dehumidifier now is. So this used to be where the tower sat. I'm just going to shut this off so that you can hear me. So in this sort of little outside room that we've got here, this used to be where the condensing tower was. This rope is a sad little makeshift way for tools and filters and such to get up on the roof. It's really not a great setup, and we should really have something that's a lot more permanent and a safer way to bring HVAC filters and such up to the roof. Now go up to the roof and do a little walk through of what's up here. So this here is the solar panels that we were just looking at beneath us here. You can see where they're run out from underneath. So right here, this is the sort of line that marks where the wall goes from this room. This space here is the solar room. This space over here is the natural gas room. You can see the natural gas line right here, and that's the one that runs up, feeds everything that's on the roof, as well as some other units in the Zamboni room, because we've got a little corner unit in there. So that space is where the small little room off the Zamboni room was, and then this here is where the Zamboni room sits. Coming over here, we'll go up onto the main roof, and the main roof, you can see natural gas lines kind of running all over the place, and that's because there's a heater down there, and then this one here is running over. It's dropping down onto that roof to feed that rooftop unit over there, and then it's also running out this way to feed these other rooftop units, as well as it's going down at various spots to feed those radiant heaters, and you can see the stacks of those radiant heaters. Now we talked about, you're going to be able to hear me up here. Might have to record audio over this afterwards because it is quite windy. So you can see here, this is the roof on the new arena. This right here is over top of the entranceway. Over here is the Eagles dressing rooms, and then the rest of the dressing rooms. From here to there is kind of where you enter into the new arena. These here are the stacks coming out of that mechanical room that we were in downstairs. The furnaces are that feed the dressing rooms on the old arena. Coming along the roof here, this first rooftop unit, this feeds the upstairs rooms. So that is everything from the meeting rooms to the offices, the bathrooms, although they don't get serviced very well, to the hallway upstairs. It does not do the comm hall. These little green boxes here, those are all exhaust fans. Pretty much never run unless somebody's running the propane edger, which hardly ever happens because everyone uses the electric edger now. Over where I'm walking right now, this is the seam where there was a patch job done between the two roofs. So the roofs have a very, very low grade to them. You can see they're pretty close to flat. And when the second building was added, you've got almost no drop. And then you've got this other roof that's also incredibly flat and incredibly long, and the whole thing's just sloped out that way. So you're trying to drain from that ridge here all the way out to that other edge where the Eavestrough is, with a pretty near flat roof. And then so this seam where the two roofs meet it caused a huge amount of headaches with water coming into the building, soaking all through that wall that connects the two buildings. And the big problem was often really coming from when we had snow sitting up here and then melting, and you get essentially you get damming happening here and happening where things couldn't slide off where all this equipment is. So every single thing that's any kind of impediments to the flow of water or snow could get sort of drifted up against, or anything like that, would create places for the water to pool and penetrate into the building along this seam, especially, is the worst spot. So here, this exhaust fan right in front of me is off of the kitchen exhaust. So this is the upstairs kitchen, and so you can see this line here where the white roof is off the tin roof. It's extended over a bit, so you can see where the tin roof ends there and where this ends here. So it's carried over, slightly different roof over the comm hall area than the arena area. This rooftop unit is about 10 years old. This roof was redone within the last 10 years. We haven't had any issues with it since. Fortunately, people tend to use the walkways and stay off it because we don't want anything punched through it. Right here in front of me, so this is the exhaust fan from the concession. So this is where I pointed out down below. This is currently where the new hallway is supposed to go in terms of where it's running through on the second floor. So it might need to get bumped over to the other side of this wall and brought up through here and put on a little platform or something right there. So along this wall, we've got a bunch of stacks that's for the equipment that is in the room with all of the units for the peaks for the new part of the lobby. That's the part attached to the pool, old pool, new gymnastics area. I showed you those from below on the exterior. That's the air intake, and then we've got exit doors down here. This roof we don't have a lot of issues with, but we do have some. Mostly the Eavestrough going all around the perimeter of the roof is in desperate need of replacement. Where these penetrations are going through kind of needs to be redone as they're replaced. And I understand, according to one of the roofers that it was up here with, that there's a lot of places, and the majority of the roof, they've used the wrong style of screws, so potentially those screws should actually be replaced with the right type. These solar panels here, they are the ones that are run all the way down to the pool mechanical room. So you can see where it drops into the building there. That goes down. That area there is the stairwell elevator area. So it's going down through the stairwell. It's getting run through the drop ceiling, all through the comm hall. And then just right beside this exhaust fan is where it pokes through and it runs all the way down there, and then it goes down a floor to that little storage tank. So it's a real long run, and I think it's a strange choice, but anyways. This unit here, also approximately 10 years old. Haven't really had much issue with it or the one beside it. I have to think about this for a moment. This one feeds the community hall on the second floor, and this one feeds the lobby on the first floor. Both of these units do heating and cooling, and we've had no issues with either one of them in the 10 years that I've been here. Over here you can see the various roof levels. So down here, this is the roof over the front entranceway when you come through the double doors. So again, that's part of this addition when the pool was added. Up here, so this is the main roof. So you can see where this little bump up is right here. So that bump up is what separates the sort of the lower roof where Peaks is to the other part of the roof over the gymnastics area. So that little raised up part is everything over top of the gymnastics area. So again, coming down here, you can see a lot of the sealant on this roof is pretty much shot, and coming over, so this little bit here, this is just what is above the stairwell. So this is the roof over the stairwell that comes up into the Peaks of Grassy room. So here you can see these are the exterior windows for Peaks of Grassy. We've currently had, we've had issues with water getting in somewhere along this wall for over 10 years. I think it's been long before I got here. The Eavestrough, both along here and down below along this edge, are in need of replacement. Coming down onto this lower section of the roof, these windows are in very rough shape, and we believe there's a chance that the water's getting in there, but we've been chasing it and have yet to figure out where it's getting in. And again, you can see sort of this little spot where there's a little bit of a bump out just past these windows. That is where it goes from being this area is Peaks. That area down there is what was the old pool. So right where that Eavestrough starts onward is the old pool, now the gymnasium. So this whole part of the roof is probably in need of resealing. The metal itself is in good shape, and we do have a few leaks, but we don't have a ton of leaks. But there is some interesting things like this on here. No idea why this is like this, but you can see like there's this little strip of galvanized run in here. Not sure why. Maybe that's where one of our leaks is coming from. Who knows? So coming back over to the main roof. So underneath me right here, this is where you have the elevator, and then you have that little walkway which brings you over into the upstairs part of Peaks of Grassy. So I believe that's where currently there's a janitor's room that's supposed to be going in there. These are from previous rooftop units that have been replaced with these, I believe. And the skinning of this roof, we talked about trying to potentially remove as many roof penetrations as possible, and there was also the suggestion made by the engineers to put the natural gas lines inside so they're off the roof. And the thinking behind that was less stuff like there is, like every one of these exhaust fans here impedes the flow and increases the amount of ice damming there is. The other thinking there was the less penetrations the better for the long term, in the sense of trying to eliminate as much of the leaks potential as possible, and also that it's going to be a lot easier to skin the roof and reskin the roof, because the understanding that I have is that the roof is going to need to be redone every, say, 10 to 15 years. So it'll probably have to be done at least 2 to 3 times in the lifetime of the building. So since I'm up here, roof Crow as well. So this is all new part of the building, and this is over top of the dressing room, Crow. I'll show you downstairs where this rooftop unit goes into the rooms. That's heating and ventilation only. There's no cooling in that. We've got a roof access right here, a little ladder to get from one roof to the other, and then these solar panels here where that windsock is, those are connected up to the tanks down in this room here, which is where the Olympia room is, and it has sorry, the wind's getting kind of loud. So here, cooling tower, and a little catwalk, plant rooms down there, and there is the transformer and the meter for the plant room. So the plant room is fed off of a completely separate transformer from the rest of the building. Just going to pause the video until I get down off the roof, because this will take me a minute. I figure while I'm up here, I may as well also show the Eavestrough over on this side of the building and some of the perimeter lighting. So the perimeter lighting, we've gradually been switching out from the various older ones around the building, and this Eavestrough here, this one's actually in pretty good shape. It's not falling off at all like the way the one on the pool is. So I don't think that there's too much that needs to be done to it. Maybe more on the downspouts portion of it, but the Eavestrough itself is in good shape. Same with on the other arena. The Eavestrough over on that part of the building is in good shape. These are just some little communication towers that the IT guys have running over to the Civic Center for our network. And so this wall here that this is sitting on is the wall that I was saying needs some serious patchwork because of the number of places that you can see sunlight from inside the building. Like if you look at this, this whole seam is completely opened up. Good rainstorm, you could have probably a fair bit of water coming right through. And you can see here again, that's where those patches aren't actually too bad. But you can see where this this bar is in here is one of the spots you can see right through the building. This dehumidifier is roughly 12 years old. It causes a few problems here and there, but for the most part it's in really good shape right now. because we just pretty nearly rebuilt the thing last year. So we put a new desiccant wheel in it that was about $15,000. We replaced the burner. We replaced some pressure switches. We replaced a few other things that were causing us some issues. So we replaced a great deal of the parts inside it. We replaced both motors for the blower and the process fan. And for everything we didn't replace, we have spare parts on hand ready to replace in case we have any issues. So you can see a little bit of rust here and there on the venting, but for the most part, the unit's in good shape. We've got filter banks up here to make sure that we're getting adequate filtration. Up here we've got the sound booth. I'll show you that from upstairs. And I'll head up there now. So this stairwell is at the far end of the building. On the other side of this wall up here, there's a little tiny storage room with a few penetrations going through because there used to be some stuff in it that's now been replaced with rooftop units. Got a little heater here. This heater basically never runs because this used to be an exterior facing wall on my left, and it's no longer. This is our little sound booth room for the arena. It could use a bit of work and some new audio equipment coming through these doors. So this hallway, this wall is all beside Alex Kalita Arena, and all of this that's in front of us here, these meeting rooms and offices, is all been built after the fact. Above this drop ceiling, there's a whole separate set of lights from when this used to be a completely open concourse area, and this actually used to be open to have viewing out in the stands. This room here is just a small little meeting room currently. Behind it there's another little room for file storage. Currently this room's locked up because we are going to be using it for personnel files momentarily, so I can't show you at the time, but there's nothing of too much interest in there. In here we have a bit of ductwork. This used to have a furnace in here, so you can see the old natural gas hookup up there. You can also see where the penetration went through the roof that's since been capped off. This here is where all of our amps are for both arenas. So we've got up top we've got Thelma Crow mixing board and amp. Down here we've got the AK mixing board and amp in this case down here, and then all the wiring for it is run up through here and out to the various spots in the ranks through the drop ceiling. Just that little this door here, this just connects us with the room that we're going to go into next. So this here is a room you're probably familiar with. It is Ling, one of our most frequently used meeting rooms. This wall here is the one where we've had all sorts of water issues because of that seam failing on the roof where the two buildings are adjoined. We used to have tons of sound issues as well because of the way you would hear everything, every puck and all the music and stuff between the two rinks. You can see where we doubled up, added a second set of windows on the other side of the wall. That helped greatly with the sound. We also added some additional sort of like soundproofing drywall layers to help with the sound as well. Up here we have the ductwork from the rooftop unit that's above us right now. So if I come up here, so here you can see where the rooftop unit is coming through to feed all of the ductwork upstairs, running out to the various parts of the offices and meeting rooms. And so right now I'm standing approximately close to the middle of the continuation. The video reached its maximum limit. Anyways, hallway, offices, all fed from the same rooftop unit that the meeting room's fed by. All of these rooms, we did the same thing here, where we added a second pane of glass to all the windows to help with the soundproofing. Here in Steven's office, you get a lot of sound from the washroom next door when there's kids being kids. So on the other side of, and then photocopy room. So in here, there is server and all the connections that run downstairs and up to the roof to those antennas that run over to the Civic Center, and then also all of the other stuff that's going to TELUS. Out here, same thing, you've got vents up in the roof. The ventilation in the washrooms is not great. In this little room here, it's a storage room that Big Fun uses, so it borders the washroom, and then that wall borders the stairwell, which is over here. So this is that stairwell that we showed from down below previously, and so this wall here, which corresponds to that wall that we looked at downstairs, is just right above where the little vestibule is between the two rinks. Here's the kitchen, and the kitchen is very large, industrial kitchen. So here, the exhaust for that is where I showed you on the roof at the very corner. So it's right around here that there's the separation between the different roof systems. And then out through the kitchen here into the comm hall. This big bump out here in the comm hall is where the ventilation runs through for the concession exhaust, because the concession is just right below here. So that's the concession exhaust. On the other side of this wall is the mechanical room, which I showed earlier, where all of the gym mechanical room equipment is, those big units with the sloped roof. Over there, that's a support beam, another support beam there, another one in the middle of the room that corresponds with a similar looking one downstairs. In this corner right here, we've got another large support beam, and that also corresponds with the one downstairs. Before I show in there, so I'm just going to come back up here in this hallway. I'll just show up here. There is kind of the separation point for the rooftop units. So if you look down this way, you got this big huge beam, but over in there you can see this ductwork that's running over here. You've got air return running up to this duct that stops right here. I think that might be from an old unit. You can see on the roof where there's a spot capped off, and then you can see here down, everything from this part of the hallway down runs off of that rooftop unit that's back over top of the meeting room in Ling. So everything from that Ling meeting room down the hall that way is all off of the smaller rooftop unit up there. It's heating and cooling. And then everything over here is off of the larger one. So here on this ladder, there is this spot here where we've got a whole bunch of ductwork running through here. And this is close to where it's coming through the roof, and I think I can show you that over here. So in here, this is the bar. In the bar, we've got that's with audio for the comm hall. In behind here, you've got a little breaker panel here. There's a big beam in there, and that corresponds with the one downstairs. Here we've got a boiler. This feeds the washrooms upstairs and the kitchen, and that's about it. Up here we have rooftop penetration. I think this is for the one that may have, I don't know, this one may have been capped off. I'm not sure if this is the one that's currently in use or this is the one that's previously in use. Based on the roof penetrations, there's one up there that's been capped off, but I think that's active. And it runs over and in here behind this wall. That runs through to downstairs where I showed that. Oh, yeah, that is the active one. I just heard it kick on. So that's running now, and it's definitely connected to the rooftop unit right above us. So that answers that question. And so in here, the ductwork runs behind this wall here and this wall here. And that ductwork is running downstairs into the stack that I showed behind the pillar with the TV on it. Over in this corner, we've got a little fake fireplace. And here we have a look at the ducts in this part of the roof. So you can see this one main distribution line through here, and it runs all the way over there. You can see over here, this is the spot where it's coming in from the rooftop unit. You can see this other main distribution duct running all along here, going to its various spots. And there's a lot of other random stuff up here, like some old speakers from a PA system that's no longer hooked up, it looks like. What else? Oh, over in this corner, let me get the light on it. You can see that other spot where there's penetration through the roof over there. I know the light's not great, but that's another place coming through. So out here, this is where we were earlier, the elevator, the stairwell, and bed door outside. So that pretty much concludes the second floor. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to run down and show you. Actually, I guess I'll just let the video play. I'm just going to run downstairs, show you Thumacrow Arena, which was an addition that was put on roughly 12 or so years ago. kind of ballpark. It was just before I started working here. So this, you can see where that wall and this wall here line up. This is the little vestibule that adjoins the 3 buildings. Outside where the new arena is adjacent to the old arena. I just realized that I forgot to do this sprinkler room earlier. So I'm gonna go back through the lobby. That's the spot I was just referring to where the ductwork runs through. So out here we have this wrapped insulated line. That is our main cold water line coming through the building. This is where our water comes in from EPCOR, and then overhead you can see sprinkler lines. In here, sprinkler room, we've got a dry system. So we've had lots of trouble with these over the years, getting parts for old systems. Here is where our water's coming in from EPCOR, off of, well, this is where it's metered, this is where it's coming off of. Down here, this is where we need to put in the backflow prevention. We've got a couple compressors here that feed the dry system. And the dry system pipes are fairly suspect. You can see this pipe here. We replaced that last year, and you can see the galvanized all the way down and then over and then in, and that was all replaced due to having multiple leaks along this line here, and that was just basically the old pipe had rotted out. And I'm assuming that we're probably in a similar situation with these ones here that are also close. Even though it's a dry system, there is some moisture that gets in there from the air in the compressor, and that causes it to corrode. I have no idea what kind of shape these branch lines are in. Judging from the ones that came out, the ones going this way didn't look terrible when they did those replacements of that main line, but we might want to consider having an inspection of these lines done if they're intended to be kept. Given all this stuff is, I believe, original in this part of the building. That's the same for all the stuff going over here. All of these lines that come out and feed over top of the stands, all of those sprinkler lines, I believe, are all original as well. And there's a very good chance that they're in pretty rough shape in terms of corrosion. I understand the plan is to switch to a wet system instead of a dry. I'm not sure what that'll mean for the state of the inside of the pipes as they currently are, but it's definitely something to be concerned of. These sprinkler lines here in the new arena are only, I don't know, 10 or 12 years old, whatever, or 11 or 12 years old, whatever year the rink was built. I think it was 2006. So that makes them about 11 years. So this is a new arena. Not a whole lot to it. It's pretty bare bones. These heaters do not work very well at all. The run on them is far longer than you can possibly get heat out of them, so you can only get heat for the first few feet. So people just tend to sit in these first couple seats. Nobody seats down in the other seats if they can avoid it, because there's no heat there. And you can hear the dehumidifier running right now. This is where it comes out here and down there, and down at the other end I'll show you the feed there. This is the door to the refs room. You can see where it links up with the hallway on the other side. This little cabinet is where all of our audio equipment is for this arena, and it'll have to be relocated when the stands are replaced. These boards are not in bad shape. There's a few problems due to shoddy installation work, but overall they're pretty good. Same issue here with this heater, and then this wall You can see this whole wall from one end to the other has been patched many times because of the amount of water damage that we've had. I don't know if it's full of mold, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was, because of the amount of water that's come down through there over the years due to that poor roof seam. This door here just connects up with this mechanical room that I showed earlier with these furnaces in it. Back here we've got the that's the output, or exhaust, I guess you'd say, for the dehumidifier. This is the rear vestibule. This is that water fountain I referred to earlier. And what do we have up here? So these are all fed from the rooftop unit that's on the lower roof above TC. These two big lines here, those are the dehumidifier lines. And what else do we have? This rear exit, we've had a lot of issues with the concrete. It's been redone a couple times, and I can show you that when we're outside afterwards. Coming through this arena, we've got the Eagles room, coach's office, dressing room. This room has a drop ceiling, the rest do not. We've had a few little issues with leaks from a shower line that's since been repaired. In this room, this dressing room is sort of Eagles number 2 room, or a spare room for tournaments. And if you look up here, you'll see this is where the penetrations are for the rooftop unit coming through into this part of the building and then branching out from here. These dressing rooms, or sorry, these washrooms that are off of the dressing rooms are exhausted into the Olympia room. So they are pulling the water, I just looked at the mixing valve. They're pulling the air out of the washrooms, and they're dumping that air into the Olympia room. That air is then pulled from the Olympia room and dumped outside, and that's so that there's a high air turnover in the Olympia room to get rid of the exhaust from the Olympia ice resurfacer. This little room back here, hard to see, but it goes up quite high. This is a little space that the Eagles are using for storage and for their washer dryers, and this is the venting for their washer and dryer that they're currently hoping to have relocated so that they can keep their washer dryer in the other room. Let's go over. So I'm not going to go into every single one of these rooms, but I'll just go into one quickly. So these dressing rooms here, you can see these are the hot water lines that are running from the boiler room with the solar in it that I showed you over on the other ice surface. So this is the water that's coming through for the floods. And in here, these washrooms, these showers are not great because there's only 2 small showers. These walls used to be open, connecting the 2 dressing rooms, but there was problems with guys and girls playing each other, having shared showers. So all these rooms are basically the same. The only difference is that the one on the end has 3 shower heads instead of 2, which is nice. Had a few leaks from this roof over the years. Nothing major, but seems like one pops every now and then. So this along here, so if you look at not exactly, but approximately this line here, this is where the header trench is for this ice surface. So it's running along there. It kind of dog legs around the boards and then through to the other arena where I showed the AK brine lines before. So right here, you can see where the the headers come through here. So in this room, we've got the TC brine lines for the cold floor and heat floor, and the AK brine lines for the cold floor and heat floor. So small ones back in here are heat floor, big insulated ones are cold floor, and we also use it for blade storage. In here, this is our Olympia room. Currently, we've got the condensing water tower tank, which is way undersized, in here, and pretty packed house. This is our chemicals for the cooling tower water. This is our Zamboni or Olympia dump pit. A couple of floor machines we need to relocate. This is our electrical room. Some brilliant person thought it would be a great idea to put water tanks on top of the electrical room. There's been times when I've had water pouring out of these right into the electrical room. This here is our workshop area. So this is where we do all of our repairs and maintenance work for everything in the building. The air compressor, all the tools, is how we fix everything. Here we have the snow dump pit, and it's currently empty, which is really unusual. I'm gonna have to look into that and find out what's going on. This here is a ladder to access the roof. I showed you the hatch up there from the roof. This exhaust fan, this is dumping out of the washrooms in the dressing rooms and the dressing room space. This exhaust fan is just pulling the air from this airspace, that's the heater for this space, and it's dumping it outside. And that's ensuring that this room has good air turnover for the exhaust gas from the Olympia. Out here, so this is the exterior view of the new arena from the back parking lot. The biggest issue along here, oh, and that's the solar panels that we looked at that feed into this solar preheat tank. And I forgot to mention those water tanks up there, along with the solar preheat tank, that is all only for the Thelma Crow dressing rooms and nothing else. So this whole wall here, we've got a few different issues, like stuff like this, where this is actually draining backwards into the building. This is a makeshift little solution to try and keep it from draining into the building. Up here, this edge is actually sloped back towards the building like this a little bit. And because of that, there's, I don't know if I can get up high enough to see it, but if you see, yeah, right there, there's all sorts of little vegetation growth happening up there. And if you see here, this is a really poor seam. The way this flashing was done was not done correctly. There's like a 1/4 inch of overlap here, and because of that, you can see a little crack up here, and you get this lovely look on the brick. And that is the case all the way down this wall. Coming around back here, those solar panels up there, those are the ones that tie into the Alex Kalita showers. So that was the little mechanical room behind the operator's office. This cement pad has been a huge issue over the years. You can see the cracking in it, but more than that, it's the way that in times past it was done poorly. It was underneath there, then there was frost jacking, pushing the wall up, causing damage to the wall. This heaving so much that the doors would not open. I've had to remove the doors and cut like a 1/4 inch off of the bottom of the door so that they'd be allowed to open. And yeah, you can see the block work is all messed up. And we've got stuff like this where this is all been shifted. You can actually see how much the shifting is happening based on the bend there. So there's been quite substantial shifting due to the frost jacking. That transformer is the one that feeds the main distribution for the entire building, which does all of the electricity for the building except for the plant room, which we're headed to now. The reason the plant room is on its own transformer separate from the rest of the building is because apparently they forgot about it when they added the building on. They didn't run any power over to the plant room. It was some kind of afterthought for some reason, and they actually ran the building off of ran the plant off of a generator for the first 6 months. So that's our cooling tower. That cooling tower, actually, I'm going to turn off the plant room first so that you can actually just shut the plant down so that you'll actually be able to hear what I'm saying. So this cooling tower here is been moved over from the previous plant. It's holding up reasonably well given how old it is. There have been some major concerns over the years. These beams were split wide open all the way from top to bottom due to ice. So I had to re-weld the beams and drill little holes to allow the water to come out, because every one of the pillars was popped wide open. We added a ladder for roof access to the top in order to service the nipples up there where the water sprays out of, and we do our best to sort of keep it clean and running well. Currently our water treatment plan's working fairly well, so we're not getting too much scale. This is our plant room. We've got 3 compressors here. 2 of the 3 compressors were carried over from the previous plant room. So this motor and originally that motor, which has since been replaced, but these 2 compressors were brought over from the old plant, and this compressor was added on when the second sheet of ice got added. Brine pumps, Alex Kalita Arena, Don McCrow Arena, Curling Arena brine lines are running outside of the building and then over across the street to their building. So they come out right here, they come out of the building, they go down underground, and they run through the ground, over, out through the parking lot. You can actually see where the parking lot's been cut, and they run in the corner of their building where those double doors are. So there's it's all in steel now, which is nice, because for years it was in plastic. It was only Schedule 40, I believe, too, and it leaked constantly. This is our tiny little packed-in plant room. I'm hoping the new one's going to be a lot more spacious, because there's a lot of issues that we run into with this one. These are our brine tanks up here. It's very hard to access them. You can see I've got a little drill rigged up for mixing calcium chloride in, and it's really a very tight setup in here. This motor recently had to be replaced, and when I replaced the motor, I barely had more than a couple inches on each side to squeeze it through the room and get it in there at the doors. Our chiller is such that ABSA has said that they'd like to inspect it, but in order to inspect it, you pretty much have to tear the wall off of the building in order to open it up. other things like our snow melt pit. Again, very, very tight quarters up there. Nearly impossible to kind of work around it when you have problems. We've had leaks with it losing glycol, and trying to deal with and trace those issues when you're so tight for space everywhere is it's quite challenging. I can go into a whole lot more detail in the plant room if there's a desire for that, but I just want to kind of give an overview of it, because my understanding is the entire thing's getting replaced, and that will be very welcome. There's not really a whole lot more to show you it this way. That's new arena. Down here we've got the exterior wall up here. These are air intakes for the exhaust fans, which are on the roof. We've got a little Seacan village going on back here. And down here, that's the pool. Those are the AC condensers that I showed you earlier. And I think that just about wraps it up. Feel free to ask me if there's any other videos or pictures you'd like of the building. Thanks.